So here we're going to be looking at internal rotation of the hip, one of the most important movements for your hip. What you'll find is that if you can increase internal rotation, then it helps with all other range of movement as well, hence why we place a lot of focus on it. So you're going to be doing this from a sideline position, and then you're going to need something to elevate your foot onto, the height of which will be dependent on how mobile you are. I'd also recommend you get something to put between your knees and under your head, because we're going to be here for a couple of minutes. You want to be able to support your head without having to worry too much about tension through your neck. So from this sideline position, we're going to have knees together, or you can place a small towel or something beneath there, and that top foot is going to go onto your chair or whatever it is that you've got to support that foot in place, and then we're going to rest that knee down. So this hip here is the internally rotated one. Now what we want to make sure of is that we're not actually able to lift our foot off that object there. So that's probably a little bit too low for me. If you're in this position, you find that you're able to lift off, then we're not working your very end range of movement. So elevate that using a pillow or some towels or a slightly higher chair. Whatever it is, you want to take it to the point where you're not actually able to lift that foot off. And then we're just going to get nice and relaxed into this position for a couple of minutes. So I want my right shoulder stacked over my left. I don't want to be too far forward or back. Same with the hips. In this case, right hip stacked over left. And then again, just relaxing into this position. 2 to 3 minutes where we focus on that breathing. Get nice and relaxed. Think about a 6-second count in, 6-second count out. And as I said, we go for 2 or 3 minutes from there. After our 2 or 3 minutes, we're going to go through our PAILS and rails contractions, which we use to expand our range of movement. So once the 2 or 3 minutes is up, the first thing we want to do is build tension through the body. So we start by driving the back of the hands into the floor. With this hand, you can either drive it into the floor here or link the fingers. We let that tension spread through the body to allow us to put as much force into our first contraction as possible, which is going to be what we refer to as our PAILS contraction. That's going to start from the inside of this top leg. What we're essentially doing is pushing the ankle down into the box, but I want you to think about the strength coming from the inside of that top leg as it tries to turn your hip out to stretch. And if the box wasn't there, I'd be doing that, driving down. So we build that strength through the body. We start to drive that foot down into the box. We picture the strength coming from the inside of that right leg as it tries to turn out of that stretch. We build the contraction for 10 to 15 seconds. Again, deliberately placing as much force to the inside of that leg as you can. And then we hold for a 10 to 15 second maximum contraction. So easy to lose that tension throughout the whole body, but really try your best to maintain it. After that 15 seconds, we then do the opposite. We put our tension to the outside of the hip as we try and lift our foot off of that support and make it as light as we can. Again, if the support is at the right height, your foot won't lift. You just need to think about making it as light as you possibly can. I like to think about getting my pocket to turn in towards my groin area, because that's what internal rotation of your hip is. So envision that as you maintain that tension through the body. You might start to get a little bit of a cramp here. If you do, try and push through it. Use your breathing to keep your body as relaxed as you can whilst that tension is running through it. Again, 15 seconds to build, 15-second hold at that maximum contraction. And then once you've done that, we relax. After that, you're going to go through a second round of those. So another round of pushing the foot down into the box, 10 to 15 second, build the contraction, 10 to 15 second hold at maximum contraction. Then you do the same going the other way as you attempt to make that foot nice and light. Once you've done 2 rounds of those, we then want to drive into that range of movement that we've just tried to expand. So you're going to want to take your support a little bit lower. Or if you don't have anything lower, what you can do is completely get rid of it and lift from the floor. And we want to go 10 lift-offs, trying to drive into that range of movement that we've just opened up. Here, make sure you squeeze the knees together as that foot lifts. And don't just think about the foot lifting, think about that hip trying to rotate in. As I said, about 10 reps or so, really trying to drive that foot up as high as you can.